Karakura Town. Located in the heart of the Tokyo suburbs, it boasts a population of over 100,000 and has a railway which runs through its center. In order to protect the town from Aizen in the past, the Soul Reapers transferred its 100,000 inhabitants to the Soul Society, a large-scale operation that involved temporarily halting trains and cars from entering or leaving the town, overseeing the region's electricity, water, and sewage lines, and manipulating the memories of the residents in the areas surrounding Karakura. And now Karakura Town was once more isolated from the world, divided by a gloomy virtual reality curtain of static that was imperceptible to the human eye. However, this isolation was permeable, and trains, cars, and pedestrians made their way in and out of the city like normal.
Huh? The TV isn't showing anything.
Hello? Hello? Huh? The line cut out.
I haven't got a signal.
Are you kidding me? The connection dropped right when I was about to win.
I give up. I can't get my email to work.
All manner of communication devices and signal-receiving equipment that connected the town to the outside world ceased to work, and electronic communication outside the town were cut off entirely. However, it only lasted for minutes. Everything returned to normal one by one, and everyone went back to their daily lives. They did not notice that in those brief few moments, their devices had all been tagged, and that based on that tag, a portion of those devices hadn't reconnected even after the minutes had passed.
Huh, that's strange.
You wanna know what I think is strange? That I even got roped into this situation.
Jinta held half of the 500 kilograms of bouncy balls all by himself, while Tessai carried the other half easily with one arm.
Mr. Tessai, my cell phone isn't working anymore.
My phone isn't connecting either. I sense a strange disturbance of spiritual pressure. We should get back to the shop quickly.
At the boundary along the west side of Karakura Town, a young Soul Reaper in charge of the next town over had arrived on the site.
Karakura Town should be right ahead over here. What the heck is this? Was this a Hollow's doing? Or a Quincy's?
The film was projected into the sky like a hologram emitting static. However, cars, people, and trains were passing through the membrane as though nothing were amiss.
Alright, the hell with it.
The Soul Reaper took a step directly into the membrane.
Huh? What? I went through it just like normal.
As he said that, he noticed another Soul Reaper, middle-aged, sporting gray hair, right in front of him.
Who are you?
I'm the Soul Reaper in charge of Kagamino City, east of here. I'd actually like to ask you the same question. You just came out of Karakura Town, didn't you? What's going on in there right now?
What?
At that point, the Soul Reaper realized the scenery around him was entirely different from before he'd gone through the membrane.
Where am I? Where's this station?
We're to the east of Karakura Town. Are you talking about the main Karakura Town station? You weren't on the west side of the town just now, were you?
They then both realized it. The membrane functioned differently for normal humans than it did for Soul Reapers.
You think the ones inside are okay? I don't think those in charge of Karakura Town are that strong.
In any case, we need to report this to the top. But, you know, Karakura Town has Ichigo Kurosaki, former Captain Ishin, and former Captain Urahara. I'm sure they'll be able to figure out a solution.
Urahara Shop. Yukio Han's Vorarlberna.
Yukio and Ririka transported us there directly. We were crossing a pretty dangerous bridge too, you know.
Huh. Aren't you one of Ginjo's people?
Possibly. So who are you? I haven't got any business with anyone except Mr. Urahara, to be blunt.
I'm the Squad 9 Lieutenant of the 13 Court Guard Squads. I'm Shuhei...
No, I don't really care. Doesn't seem like there's much point in knowing anyway.
What? What's with you? All you had to do was be patient for 1 second longer and listen. You're doing just the opposite of what Ganju did.
Guess it's been half a year. I'd like you to come with me for a bit.
Oh, I would have met up with you if you had just rung me up in advance. I mean, I already more or less have guessed what you want.
Oh, have you?
Are you serious, Mr. Urahara? You know what this guy wants?
The president of Waihan's enterprise, which has scaled up rapidly with gaming projects as its foundation while also focusing on the entertainment industry as a whole, could only be seeking one thing from me. Obviously, you must be scouting me!
What?
Well, I suppose you could say that I have an eye for trends as the owner of a humble candy shop who develops his own products. If I dare say so myself, I thought a large corporation would set their sights on me eventually. But it's a problem for me if you think I'm only motivated by money. If you want to buy an old town worker's soul, I'd rather you offer good faith over cash. Yes, to put it in practical terms, how does 7% of the company's shares sound?
So you just want money after all? At 7%? That's audacious! And is Karakura Town even considered an old town? Also, it's not like a small-time candy store would be developing their own in-house product line in the first place.
Mr. Hisagi, you're truly so polite when you make fun of people. You should take notes, Mr. Vorarlberna.
You really are frightening. Wouldn't want to come across someone like you in a PvP game.
What's gotten into you all of a sudden?
While you were making dumb jokes, you were observing all of my reactions, weren't you? You were trying to upset me from the moment you started making a fool out of that guy, right?
You're giving me too much credit. Do I look like such a villain? It's the nature of my business to size people up, but it's not as though I can see everything.
Uh-huh. But you at least know that I'm not here to recruit you. This is the main deduction phase. Can you guess my goal even though I haven't given you the main evidence yet?
I'd like to say I've seen through you already, but I'm still not certain that I have. How many questions do I get? At the very least, I know you're not here to murder us and don't bear us any hostility, so I'm hoping to get some extra time on my clock.
Mr. Urahara, you said this guy isn't hostile. Well then, why'd he go out of his way to cut off Karakura Town?
Yeah, it was definitely me who cut off the town. And you're right, there's no hostility here. From me, that is.
Hisagi sensed the faint disturbance of spiritual pressure behind him, and he leapt forward then turned back to where he had been standing. Human figures that had appeared from the static were standing there, lashing the air with oddly decorated extendable batons. As Hisagi watched the figures rush out of the static to surround him, he reached for his zanpakuto. This isn't any hollow or Quincy spiritual pressure. Are these guys humans? The group of men and women were not the konpaku of the deceased, and the color of their spirit ribbons marked them as people who lived in the world of the living. Because they were all wearing homogeneous black suits etched with white patterns and identically colored gas masks, Hisagi couldn't see their expressions. If they're human, it's not like I can cut them down just like that. But even if they are just humans, being outnumbered like this is still a problem. Hisagi attempted to use Flash Step and Hakuda in order to stun them, but the moment he went around behind his opponents, he felt something strange and immediately leapt back a step. In that instant, a baton grazed the tip of his nose. They had attacked him with a precision that made it seem as though they had eyes on the back of their heads. Furthermore, their movement seemed much faster than regular humans. Huh? What's with these guys? Did they use spirit senses to figure out where I was? Hisagi was hard-pressed to believe that normal humans were capable of that, but his opponents gave him no time to investigate. While dodging baton strikes from all sides, Hisagi sensed a change taking place in his body. What is this? Am I getting slower?
Poison. No, this is Konpaku and Reishi subjugation, I think.
Huh? What's going on, Mr. Urahara?
Of course. That gentleman wearing all black just grazed you with his baton, right? It feels as though your spiritual pressure has been slightly disturbed since then. It's likely a full bring that uses contact as an operational trigger.
I see. I knew I could depend on you, Mr. Urahara. I can't believe you're cool-headed enough to think that through in the middle of a fight. Huh? Wait. Am I the only one being attacked here? All of the black-clad people in gas masks were only attacking Hisagi, and made no attempt to approach Urahara.
Well, I was wondering about that myself. I suppose you could say we just have different aptitudes.
Doesn't that seem unfair? Hey, this is Yukio's doing, isn't it? What's your deal?
Weren't you listening? Didn't I just say that my business is with Mr. Urahara?
You mean your business wasn't to get rid of him?
If it were, I'd already have launched a surprise attack. Do I look like the type who'd openly announce his intentions before attacking?
No, you don't. Then why are you attacking me? Although, in light of what Ginjo told me, I understand why anyone who's friends with him would hate Soul Reapers.
Oh, so Kugo went so far as to tell you about that? I doubt that Kugo would have folded to torture and interrogation, so how do you know him?
We shared a drink once. We're neither friends nor enemies right now.
Oh?
Well, I would describe it as the relationship between a journalist and their subject. Hey, if you're interested in what I have to say, would you at least stop these guys?
Hisagi parried his attacks and leapt high into the air to escape them. He solidified the reishi at his feet and stood in the air above where the people could reach, now eye level with Yukio's projection.
Well, I'm glad I wasn't in a gigai. If an ordinary human saw me flying through the air... Oh, wait a sec. If they can see my spirit body, then does that mean everyone down there is a Fullbringer?
Hisagi rose even higher, then looked down at the group in black.
What a surprise.
Huh.
I never expected the Soul Society to hire journalists.
The whispering voice seemed to emanate from a place that was absent of spiritual pressure, and a chill ran down Hisagi's spine. When he lowered his gaze, a woman in a suit appeared.
Who are you? You don't seem like a Soul Reaper or a Hollow. Are you a Quincy? No, that's not it. If you're in league with Yukio, I guess that makes you a Fullbringer.
You're exactly right. No.
She stopped speaking and disappeared as though she had been dispersed into the air.
Huh?
Then Hisagi realized an arm was wrapped around the upper half of his body.
Huh?
He didn't feel as though anything were touching him. Hisagi's sense didn't detect anything at all, and as he turned in a panic, his hand cut through empty air.
I suppose this is when I'm supposed to say, exacta, Squad 9, Lieutenant.
What? You sure have done your homework? What, are you a fan of mine or something?
Yes, I suppose I am. I've wanted to get close to you ever since I found out you existed. Would you believe me if I said that?
No way I would.
Really? Even if an alluring gal like Rangiku seduces you?
Of all the lieutenants, I think you'd be the most susceptible to that sort of thing, after Omaida.
That was way too close. If Head Captain Kyoraku and Captain Muguruma hadn't warned me, I'd have been in hot water.
Are you okay, Mr. Hisagi? Be careful not to fall for any honey traps.
Why is that the image people have of me? There's no way I'd be fooled by that. I mean, I am a lieutenant.
Oh, how unfortunate. It would have been so much easier if I could have used seduction to avoid a fight.
Get a hold of yourself. Don't let her get in your head. Right, think of Rangiku. Too bad for you. I won't deny that you're charming, but you can't seduce me when you're not even dressed as boldly as Rangiku.
Mr. Hisagi, I'm sure you think what you just said was cool, but if Miss Matsumoto heard you say that, she'd be grossed out and give you a roundhouse kick to the face.
Huh? Aren't you an amusing person? I hope the other Soul Reapers have a sense of humor like you do. I'd like to take this occasion to introduce myself. I'm Aura Michibane.
Her fingers danced like a puppeteer controlling a doll with strings.
Though I'm but a handmaid serving a god that governs death, I am pleased to make your acquaintance.
A god that governs over death? Does she mean us Soul Reapers? What does she mean about being a handmaid?
Hisagi noticed the spiritual pressure of the people on the ground had changed. They all extended their batons upward, and the patterns on the batons gained form, rising into the air. They immediately started swelling and turning into large feelers that attacked Hisagi.
What?
Symbols and letters reminiscent of a divination circle swarmed and wriggled like a single living organism. Hisagi unsheathed his zanpakuto and cut away several feelers that were approaching him. However, the patterned limbs he cut away recombined and attacked once again.
It's like a swarm of bugs. What's going on here?
Though Hisagi continued to dodge and slash, he sensed his zanpakuto's spiritual pressure warp whenever it came into contact with the patterned limbs, almost as though the edge of the sword were becoming duller, as if the blade had sunk into a swamp.
Damn it. This feels a lot like the time when I got done in by Ayasagawa. But this is different from back then. It isn't that my pressure is being absorbed so much as it feels like I'm being held back. I guess this is the reishi subjugation thing Mr. Urahara mentioned earlier. What a pain. Is it like Kiro's Wabisuke? If it is, waiting it out probably isn't a good plan. Oh well, I don't know exactly what your aim is right now, but from now on I'm going to operate on the assumption that you're an enemy.
Oh, I had no idea you could look so fierce. If you would be ever so kind as to promise us that you won't interfere, we wouldn't be opposed to immediately lowering our weapons.
Who wouldn't interfere when they're being attacked? What are you trying to do?
isolating the town like this in the first place?
We're laying the foundation.
The foundation for...
Aura lowered her hands, and as she did, the wriggling swarm of patterns around Hisagi visibly settled and swayed away to a safe distance.
Karakura Town is the world's most prominent jureichi. You were aware of that, yes?
Well... No, you couldn't be... You're not trying to make an oken, are you?
I suppose. That's close, but not quite right.
What?
We do not intend to sacrifice innocent people's kampaku. We have no need to create an oken. Our goal is to make Karakura Town a true capital, where the king will sit.
Huh?
The Ryukyo and Las Noches. The thrones placed in the Soul Society and Hueco Mundo will serve as wings, and in turn, it will serve as their wings to lift up and create the perfect throne. That was the decree given to us from up above.
What are you saying? Actually, who's this king you've been going on about supposed to be?
There's no way she means Aizen, right? Or maybe it's Yuhava? No, I'm sure that Kurosaki killed him. A king?
And said that he would make someone like the king.
I'm pretty sure the kid from the aristocrat's clinic.
And Lord Tokunada said that he'd even make someone like me into the king.
Oh, Hikone Ubuginu.
Oh? What a surprise. How do you know their name?
You couldn't be one of Tokunada Tsuneyashiro's underlings?
Though I said I was a handmaid, underling isn't quite the right word. That aside, are you sure about this? Are you sure one such as yourself should be calling someone from the 4 great noble clans, from the Tsuneyashiro family, by name without a title?
I haven't got any reason to call him a lord. Not anymore.
Actually, Mr. Hisagi, I don't think you call Miss Yoruichi or Mr. Kuchiki lord either.
You're not going to help him? I believe Aura will be fairly tough to go up against solo.
Watching the projection mixed with static, Urahara used Benihime to poke and prod at the ground as he responded.
Not a chance. I'm more inclined to being a history buff and providing healing specialized support, you see. Though he's capricious, Mr. Hisagi is much more suited to offense.
Doesn't seem like you do much DPS, though.
He does tend to be more of a tank. His resilience against death is what really pushes him up above the rest.
The space was filled with static and the sound of the canes prodding as Urahara observed the group in black on the ground. Ever since they had ejected the tentacle patterns, they'd stood motionless.
But what a vulgar thing you've done. Are you sure that you and your possessed can keep this up?
You truly are a frightening person, Kisuke Urahara.
Oh, did you hear me?
Did you already comprehend my Fullbring special ability?
Huh?
Well, of course not. Don't joke around like that. You aren't using a single special ability now, are you? Well, to be more precise, I suppose I should say that you can't use one.
Karakura Town.
What should we do, Shino? We definitely aren't getting through to the Seirete.
Traveling along a railroad track using flash step, the two had reached the boundary line that ran along the riverbed of the town. Though normal people and cars were crossing the boundary, the two couldn't pass through it at all, even with their shikai.
No good. We really can't get through.
The trains are getting through on their tracks as usual, so how about we try them?
Yeah. Are you okay with that plan, knowing if we're still unable to get through, we'll end up hitting that wall traveling at the speed of a train?
That'll probably kill us, wouldn't it?
Looks like the only thing we can do is go over to Mr. Urahara's place. It's on the other side of town, but if we use Flash Step, we should be able to get over there right away.
Something like static coursed through the air around them, and as though bubbling up from cracks in the ground, several men and women clad in black appeared, wearing gas masks on their face.
Huh? They're wearing masks! Are these humanoid hollows? We should scram, Shino.
Get a grip! Sure, these guys made a weird entrance, but they don't have hollow spiritual pressure. Plus, their masks aren't white.
Then, do you think they're Quincy's?
No. Well, I can't actually say for certain.
The people in black remained silent, simply readying their extendable batons and then attacking Shino and Ryunosuke with mechanical movements.
Huh? You're not even gonna bother talking to us?
Shino was able to use her Zanpakuto to stop their batons, while Ryunosuke screamed and slipped under the attacks, trying to make a break for it.
Ryunosuke! What do you think you're doing? You actually gotta fight!
But they're not hollows. They're humans, aren't they? Are we even allowed to cut humans with our Zanpakuto?
If they can attack us when we're in our spirit bodies, it's unlikely they're regular humans, right?
At that moment, Shino realized the spiritual pressure in her Zanpakuto started to dull.
Huh?
One of the people in black hit Shino hard on the back.
Shino!
I'm fine. This is... nothing.
Shino then felt as though her whole body had been caught in a giant spider's nest. Her body creaked and slowed like a machine that had run out of oil.
What the hell?
The people in black took their distance and raised their batons in front of them. The patterns etched into the batons floated up and became feelers that flew through the air to attack Shino.
Shino!
Ryunosuke attempted to run to Shino to protect her, but before he could get to her, a person dropped from the sky and kicked off the ground with the force of a cannon, sending dirt, sand, and dust everywhere. The people in black scattered high into the air before their patterned limbs could reach Shino.
Huh?
What?
Who do you think you are coming around and oozing your disgusting spiritual pressure on my turf? Come on!
One of the figures in black tried to stand back up.
Who said you're allowed to stand? You really thought you could take the risk, huh, Baldy?
She kicked a rock at the black figure, knocking them down again.
Oh, thanks for saving us. Are you part of the 13 court guard squads?
Huh? No way, idiot! I'll tell you this! I didn't save you for nothing! I'm not a Soul Reaper. I'm an odd job service apprentice who just happens to be passing by. I'm Lord Hiyori Sarugaki.
What's an odd job service?
Any other time, I wouldn't take a job to help Soul Reapers since I hate them! But this situation being what it is, I'll make it cheap.
Huh? Why are you talking like we're gonna pay you?
Shut up, stupid! Ikumi told me to take a job no matter what it is. So what am I gonna do if I don't get paid, huh?
New static ran through the sky, and more people in black appeared from the gaps.
There's more of them! How can there be more, Shino?
What's going on? What's with these guys?
I'll pay you. So, 2 for Urahara Shoten and Mitsumiya, please.
Why are you saying it like that? I'm not a taxi. You mocking me, Baldy?
I'm sorry.
Well, whatever. But you really want to go to Kisuke's of all places?
Swinging her Zanpakuto, Hiyori cut at the ground, raising a cloud of dust and putting the people in black in check. She picked up Shino and Ryunosuke and used Flash Step to leap. Then, sensing a spiritual pressure similar to the people in black popping up all over the town, Hiyori scowled.
Having to rely on that half-asleep idiot lantern is a pain in the ass. But in this situation, it's the right call.
Urahara shop.
What's wrong? Whether it's exacta or no es exacto, I'd be so happy if you could confirm whether I'm right.
How curious. I didn't think I'd given you that much information.
You did end up doing just that, though, didn't you? The religious group called Execution started to throw its weight around right after the Quincy attack on the Soul Society. Did you think I'd ignore you? Well, I think you did a pretty good job, if I may say so myself. After all, I couldn't collect any info on you except your official records as leader, Miss Michibane. But after putting that information together with the dark underbelly you just showed me a hint of right now, I've started to get a good idea of what's going on here.
You are stunning, aren't you? What more could I have expected from the very man who created the Hogyoku himself, We really must get you over to our side.
The Hogyoku? What's that got to do with anything?
Well, now we're getting into territory that would not be appropriate for so-called journalists to hear. So if you would, please take your leave. I will eliminate you by force if you go any further, Lieutenant.
In the next moment, Hisagi's Zanpakuto was at Aura's throat.
Oh.
You're underestimating me. Even without Gente Kaijo, my Flash Step won't be diminished.
What a surprise. It's almost as though you're an entirely different person than when you were being teased like a child earlier.
You seem calm. You think I'm not the type to kill a woman?
No. As far as I'm aware, you're a very Soul Reaper-like Soul Reaper. If there is a reason to kill someone, you would likely kill them. Young, old, men and women alike with no mercy, based on your internal sense of justice. After all, you killed your own teacher for the sake of that justice.
Hisagi's spiritual pressure quivered, but his blade did not falter.
It seems that didn't anger you.
It's the truth. And also,
forever is a word that shouldn't be uttered so lightly. Not even Tosen's conviction was eternal. I did not kill Tosen as punishment for his defeat. It was my version of mercy.
compared to what Aizen said, it wasn't much of a provocation.
You really are such a funny person. How about this? Would you join me?
Do you comprehend the situation you're in? The only reason this sword hasn't gone through your throat is so that you can undo the barrier over this town. Actually, it's weird how calm she is. Guess I'll try shaking her up a little. According to Mr. Urahara, you haven't used any unusual powers yet. So was that strange letter tentacle thing that suddenly appeared one of your friend's powers? In any case, you better not try anything funny. But it's weird. Even though I can see her in front of me, I'm definitely not sensing any normal spiritual pressure from her. It's not as though there's no pressure at all, but it's almost like it's really weak. Are all Fullbringers like this? I feel like Ginjo and his gang had more substantial spiritual pressure. But if she has the ability to erase her presence, then the fact that she even came out into the open where we could see her is weird.
Just as Mr. Urahara said earlier, I am the one organizing the religious group execution. Those on the ground are believers, or rather, they were heretics who opposed us, though they are being very cooperative right now.
Huh?
Our believers currently number 770,000. Though it is a modest assembly, not even in league with the top 5 new religions in Japan. If you consider that it's only been a few years since it was established, you might say that's an odd number. Do you know how I gathered so many believers?
Can't say I do. The sects of the world of the living are none of my concern. I haven't got a clue how you're gathering people. Is there someone in your group who can brainwash people or something?
It would have been so much easier if we had. Even if Mr. Tsukishima had still been alive, having him insert his bookmark into 100,000 people at a time would have been quite difficult, of course.
Hurry up and give me the answer. If you're trying to buy time, it's a wasted effort.
The answer is simple.
She then pressed her neck into Hisagi's blade.
Huh? What are you?
Hisagi tried to pull his sword away and pin her down, but Aura's neck slipped across the blade. Her head separated from her body and fluttered through the air. Even as her head left her body, she smiled.
I simply created miracles, right in front of people's eyes.
What?
Aura's body grabbed her head and put it back into place. She turned to Hisagi, placed her palm to her forehead, and cocked her head into alignment. There was no evidence of a cut, graze, or even trickling blood.
What's going on? You just...
Cut my head off? It was cut off, but I simply reconnected it again.
Aura spread her arms out and started to manipulate the patterned limbs that unfurled around her. They were whipping around faster than before, and the amount of limbs had doubled.
Was it super fast regeneration? You aren't a hollow, are you?
Of course not. However, you're not far off from the mark. Even though you're wrong, I'm a Fullbringer. I was born with the hollow factor gnawing at my body after all.
She manipulated the throng of limbs to dance toward Hisagi. They buried him in red-black limbs until he disappeared beneath them.
Reap. Kazeshini.
The surroundings billowed as the limbs around Hisagi were cut away.
They definitely grinded my spiritual pressure when I cut them.
Oh? I see. Now that I've seen it with my own eyes, you really do have a magnificent Zanpakuto. It's rare for one to have 2 swords.
No good's going to come of praising me. Plus, Kazeshini isn't 2 swords. I'm going to check and see if your miracles or whatever are real.
Before he had finished speaking, Hisagi threw one of his sickles. The blade rapidly rotated into a disc of silver as it leapt at Aura, flying past her and tracing an arc in the air as it went around her back.
Huh?
Hisagi moved in the opposite direction of the disc's path and passed by the blade he had released to make the chains cross. He then used flash steps to create a circle with the chain to wrap up Aura, and then, once Kazeshini had wrapped around Aura several times, caught Kazeshini as it fluttered back into his hand.
Bakudo number 62! Hyapo Ronkan!
Countless points of light flew at Aura, stabbing through the chains that wrapped around her, fastening them into place.
Give up. Magic tricks won't work on a Bakudo.
Hisagi pulled on Kazeshini's chain. However, the chain's resistance disappeared, and Aura's body wavered like smoke. The chain slipped right through her and dangled below Hisagi, while Hyaporankan released and vanished.
What's going on? Mr. Urahara! She's definitely got to be using some kind of ability.
Hisagi stopped mid-yell as Urahara had disappeared from down below, and by the time Hisagi noticed, Urahara had appeared behind him and stabbed a needle into his arm. Pain rushed through Hisagi's entire body.
Mr. Urahara! Oh, what did you...
Excuse me, Mr. Hisagi. That was an emergency measure to forcibly remove your Gentei mark.
Huh? Oh.
The pain will go away soon, so please just deal with it a little longer.
Power overflowed from Hisagi's body, and the atmosphere around him reverberated with spiritual pressure.
Well, I thought it was possible, but that was pretty rush.
The ones who came up with the Gentei Kaijo system was the Department of Research and Development, after all. It's not as though I wouldn't be able to lift one. Oh, I'll make sure to explain to Mr. Kyuraku so that you don't get punished for taking it off yourself. Let's do this together. It looks like she hasn't yet shown us everything she's got.
Yes, sir. So that means this woman is strong enough that we need to face her together without a Kentei Kaijo. Oh, but you know, that woman's power.
Yes, Mr. Hisagi. Because of you, I've been able to confirm it. It's exactly as I thought.
Huh?
She can't use a Fullbring's characteristic power. All she can do is use soul subjugation, which is one of the foundations that Fullbringers share.
What does that mean?
A Fullbringer controls the reishi that dwells in materials, and they twist and manipulate that material, or sometimes even the laws of physics themselves. On top of that, sometimes they can take something they have a special attachment to and change it to create an ability of their very own. But she doesn't have that.
Huh? Well, she's been doing tricky stuff for a while.
Those are all basic Fullbringer abilities. They're just at an insanely high level. She is directing the water and earth to move, and even controlling the cells in her own body and the atmosphere. She's controlling her blood and skeleton... No, she's manipulating her body at the brain and blood cell level to make herself look like smoke, even as she's still living. Though I think those things are beyond common Fullbringer knowledge. If I were to compare it to a Soul Reaper, it's like, instead of using a Zanpakuto, she's using Kido and Hakuda skills, but on Sosuke Aizen's level. Do you get it? However, that's not the issue. If she is here, and she has over 700,000 followers, then where are those believers right now, and what are they doing?
Kisuke Urahara, you really, truly are a terrifying person, aren't you? That is exactly why we want your abilities. So that you can create a new Hogyoku, and elevate our offering of Hikune Ubuginu into a true god.
I'm not going to interfere directly, so do your damage, both of you.